Made possible through support from Autism Society of Colorado, Colorado District Attorneys Council, Colorado Developmental Disabilities Council, Developmental Pathways, and the Arc of Aurora.
THINK+change talks.
We breathe the same, we live, we cry the same tears, we bleed the same blood. Building bridges, people with disabilities and law enforcement.
Lots of people can have sensory disorders without being on the spectrum.
We can't just complain on both sides, right? We can't just say, this isn't fair. Yeah, you're right, so let's fix it. I'm Thompson. I have been in law enforcement for over 20 years. I started as a dispatcher down in Florida and then moved to Colorado a long time ago. And I went to Jefferson County Sheriff's Academy. The bulk of my career has been at Boulder County Sheriff's Office. I was a patrol officer there, and then a field training officer, and then I became a detective. Fast forward in my career, I ended my career working for the state, for the Colorado Attorney General's office, where I investigated allegations of abuse and neglect of at-risk individuals in facilities, and started Pulseline Collaborative Training, which is a training and consulting company, primarily for first responders and law enforcement on interacting with people with disabilities. I have 2 kids with disabilities. My son is 16. His name's Joe, and he has autism. He's twice exceptional. My daughter Amelia is 14, and she has a condition called polymicrogyria, which is literally a brain malformation. She's missing parts of her brain. So she has intellectual disabilities. She has developmental disabilities. She has a seizure disorder, and she's considered nonverbal. She's the loudest, bossiest nonverbal child you'll ever meet in your life. She communicates very well. This was our artistic one. So as a parent, I can only imagine if I had to call 911 where my crisis point would be. You know, I would be in crisis at that point if I lost the control of the situation to that point or didn't know how to help my kid. If you have to call, don't forget to say this stuff. And then to have, just like we want cops to meet people with disabilities, have the people with disabilities go hang out with some cops. There's all kinds of events that they can go to get to know officers, and then it's not as scary when an officer shows up with a vest on, right, or a taser or whatever. You know what it is, and you know that cops are there to help, and the vast majority of them go up and say hi. They're gonna love saying hi to you and having a good interaction, because officers don't get a lot of good interactions. We don't get called out when it's a good day. You know, we're called out when it's people's worst days. So if we can have positive interactions, that I think can also help both sides. For 30 years, we have taught law enforcement officers techniques like ask, tell, make, where they ask someone to do it, then they tell them to do it, and they make them do it. And we all learned a use of force continuum that said when someone doesn't respond to verbal commands, we go hands-on. Well, now we're watching cops do that and get indicted. It's not the right thing for us to be doing, but we haven't taught officers about neurodiversity or what to do when somebody isn't aggressive, but they're just not doing what you tell them to do right away. So that was kind of my passion in starting this. We have our 8-hour IWD for first responders course. We have our 2-hour IWD for people with disabilities and their loved ones. We have a 4-hour dispatch course, because dispatchers are very undertrained. It is a hard job. They have so much influence over these calls. They want to help. And if we give them the right questions to get that information, let them realize this is the important stuff to let the officers know, it's huge. So I see amazing stories and videos, and I have cops who call me after they train and say, oh my gosh, this worked. I did this and it was a positive, and they send me body cam, and it's so inspiring because you can really see that the change is happening, you know, where we are having this paradigm shift in law enforcement.
Okay. Thanks for helping us today, brother. I thought he was going to jump. Yeah, I really did. But it worked out really most perfect.
We have a saying in our trainings that 99.9% of the time we do it right, but we don't see that because we don't pull body cam when things end well. And I know that the vast majority of officers are doing the right thing. When we're cops, we are taught that everybody is a potential threat. And we are taught to put our fingerprints. If you've ever been pulled over and noticed, cops 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10, will touch the back of your car. And when my COO asked me, why do cops do that? And I said, oh, we have to put our fingerprints on the back to leave evidence in case we get killed on the traffic stop. And she teared up. And she's like, you guys seriously go into every traffic stop thinking that you might get killed? Yes, we do. And so we try to explain to people with IDD and their loved ones why sometimes it seems that cops act too fast or seemingly overreact. But you have to understand how dangerous it is to be a law enforcement officer walking into a situation that you don't know if there's guns or knives or anything. And people do want to hurt cops sometimes. The vast majority don't, but everyone is a potential threat. Once people with IDD and their loved ones understand that, they understand why it's so important to say, hey, this isn't somebody who's non-compliant. This isn't a bad guy who wants to hurt the cop. He just doesn't process well, or she just can't hear very well. She doesn't understand. She's in an overwhelm. She's going to be self-abusive, but she's not going to hit you necessarily. And explain that from the onset, so the officers aren't reacting to behavior that they don't expect or understand. Likewise, it's important for officers to understand behavioral indicators and characteristics of various disabilities. Not to diagnose. I don't want anybody diagnosing, right? But just to say, hey, they have an unsteady gait, their speech is slurred, they're slow to respond, but I'm not smelling alcohol. Could this be CP or a TBI, or are they really drunk? And just to pause, that awareness and pause is what I think officers need to learn. So it's really a community problem. If you don't see a weapon, they're not actively aggressive, they're not attacking you, then you have time. And I wish that I had learned that lesson earlier, like when I worked patrol. And that's the hard part, right? Because there's a fine line between officer safety and slowing things down and giving room. And things happen quick. We don't know what we're walking into, and things can change in a second, in a heartbeat. And so you always have to be prepared. It's really hard to read that and determine in a split second, is somebody a real threat or not a real threat? And so I empathize so much with these officers are dealing with every single day. And I wish that there was a little more grace. But on the other hand, I'm a parent of people with disabilities. And if somebody tases my son because he's stimming by making fists, that's not going to go over well with me, So it's just such a hard situation that we're all faced with right now. But I think that, again, education and communication is the way to solve the fear problem, because it's all based out of fear. I just want to save the world. And I think that we're going to be able to, through just a lot of education and communication and working together, both sides.
To learn more about convenient and contemporary educational products through THINK+change, visit www.thinkchange.training.